Hi, and welcome to my video. If it's your first time here, welcome to my channel. I'm Aneela and I post cooking videos every Monday. This week I'm sharing a recipe for Methi Roti, how to make the dough for it. And this dough, although it contains a lot of ingredients, is very easy to make. And it is infused with Methi or Fenugreek in 2 different forms, making this the most epic and delicious dough for Methi Roti ever. So let's take a look at those ingredients. The major flavor in this recipe is that of Methi. Now, if you have fresh Methi leaves, use those, but I am relying on frozen Methi because the quality of Methi that we are getting in the market these days is deplorable. So I buy the frozen Methi, and what I like to do is put it in a little bowl, cover it with boiling hot water from my kettle, and let it defrost. When it comes to the different flours themselves, I like to use a blend of atta, which is whole wheat flour, and besan, which is chickpea flour. I go with a ratio of 1 to 3, so 1 part besan, 3 parts atta. And here are the other ingredients. You'll see that we are also using kasuri methi or dried fenugreek. And this has a different flavor than the fresh leaves. For some added complexity, we're going to make a paste out of onion, ginger, garlic, and mirch. This will be mixed into the dough of our roti, which is just going to make it even more delicious. I like to use a really big bowl for mixing this, and into that I put all of the dry ingredients first. I like to add a little bit of salt, but not too much because we are also going to add salt later on. Then I make a little hole in the middle of the flour and put in the onion and garlic puree. I start out mixing with a spatula because I really don't like to put my fingers into wet dough, and once that looks like it's starting to come together, I add the Methi leaves. I'm keeping the water just in case from the leaves, but my plan is to not use any water at all if possible. The mirch or chili peppers that I'm using have been slightly tempered in oil, but you can use fresh chili peppers as well, and I'm just going to cut them up right in there. The reason why I'm avoiding the use of water is because besan creates a very soft dough. It doesn't absorb water very well, so the more moisture I introduce into this, the more problematic it's actually going to be. In fact, at this stage, my dough is quite wet, and so what I have to do is add a little bit of flour to firm it up. I'm also going to rub some oil into my hands, which might seem counterintuitive given that I just told you how sticky the dough is, but this is to prevent the dough from clinging to my fingers as I knead it. And as you bring your dough together, you'll know from the feel whether or not you have to add a little atta yourself, because if your dough is clinging to the surface on which you're kneading, or it's clinging to the sides of your bowl, then it is too soft. So it's best to add a little bit of atta and firm it up a bit. Don't be too concerned about changing the flavor of the dough. You're not adding so much flour that it's going to mask the flavor of the besan. You'll still be able to taste besan in this. And before too long, you will have a beautiful dough ball, which is highly infused with the flavors of fenugreek, or methi as we call it in Hindi. You can allow this to rest a little bit in the fridge, but oftentimes I just get to work with it right away. So I pinch off a bit of dough, probably about 25 to 30 grams of dough, and roll it into a small disc. Then I cover it in atta so that it doesn't stick to the surface on which I'm going to roll it out. And using my rolling pin, I start to flatten and shape this dough into as round a shape as possible. But as you'll see, it doesn't have to be perfectly round, so if it's not getting there, don't push it and don't worry about it. There are 2 different roti shapes that I like to make out of this. The first one is a square. So to do that, you're going to brush a little bit of butter in the center of the circle, sprinkle a bit of salt, and fold it up kind of like a burrito, and then flatten it a little bit more. Once you've done that, you're going to brush a teeny bit of butter once more into the center of your burrito, sprinkle a bit more salt, and fold it up into a square. It's a good idea to sprinkle it with a little bit of atta or whole wheat flour because you have to roll it out even more and you don't want it to stick to the surface on which you're rolling. So once you've done that, take your rolling pin and start to flatten this square until it's about 5 millimeters, so like half a centimeter thin. You really don't want it any thicker than that. Hopefully you can maintain the shape of the square, but if you don't and it swells out a bit, No big deal. Don't even worry about it. The next shape is triangle, and I do think that this one is a little bit easier. So once again, roll out the disc into a circle, if possible, and brush half of that circle with a little bit of butter. I'm actually using Becel, and of course you could use any other type of butter, like vegan butter, or even a bit of oil. Sprinkle a little bit of salt, and fold this into a semicircle. Then brush whatever it is that you're using onto half of that semicircle and fold it into a triangle. Cover it with a little bit of atta and roll it out again while trying to maintain the shape of the triangle. And it does take a bit of practice. I mean, I have been doing this for a long time now, so I'm pretty good at maintaining the shapes, but in the beginning I was making all kinds of different shapes. So don't be hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's all going in your tummy in the end. From this point onward, you're going to cook it on your stovetop on a tawa or a non-stick as you would any other roti or parantha. So I'm just going to leave you with that. If you're interested in any other parantha videos that I've made, I've linked a couple on the side for you. But what you see me doing here is pretty much what you do. And with that, I'm just going to say thank you for spending time with me, and I hope that you found this recipe useful and instructive. I post cooking videos every Monday, and I also post other creative content on Thursdays now. So do subscribe to my channel, that way you don't miss anything from me. And in closing, I will tell you my favorite way to enjoy this Methi roti, and that is alongside some plain curd and with a little bit of achar. I will eat any type of achar. Mango is my favorite, but I ration it at home because my mother-in-law makes it and I love it so much, and I don't ever want to be out of that achar, so every once in a while I will have something else, like mirch ka achar, which I'm having in this case. If you try this, please write to me. I would be so curious to know how it turns out, because I hope it's as delicious for you as it is for me. So that's it. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.